Virgo, money is coming, not the gradual kind, um, not the slow accumulation of consistent effort producing consistent return, the sudden kind, the unexpected kind, the kind that arrives with a quality of, mm, wait, is this real? The kind that requires a moment to actually believe before you can receive it properly. And it's coming toward you, um, specifically, not eventually soon. But there's a but, um, and the but matters as much as the money, maybe more. Let's start with the windfall itself, um, because understanding what a windfall actually is, psychologically, structurally, is what determines whether you keep it or whether it passes through you like water through open hands. Um, a windfall is money that arrives faster than the internal architecture to hold it. That's the definition that matters, not the source, inheritance, unexpected opportunity, settlement, deal that came together faster than anticipated, someone paying you what you've been owed. Um, the source is almost irrelevant. What matters is the speed, because money that arrives faster than the internal architecture to receive it uh, tends to leave at the same speed it arrived, not because of bad luck, um, because the system, the internal belief system, the unconscious relationship with abundance wasn't built to hold that amount yet. Um, and systems, human ones, financial ones, energetic ones, tend to return to the level they were calibrated for, whether you want them to or not. This is the warning. Not that the money is dangerous, that you might not be ready to keep it yet. And yet is the operative word, because readiness isn't fixed, it's built. And the building, the internal work of becoming someone who can hold abundance without it slipping away, um, is exactly what this moment is asking of you before the money arrives. So, not after. Um, let's talk about what happens uh, statistically, psychologically, with documented regularity when people receive money faster than they've built the internal capacity to receive it. The first thing that happens, almost universally, um, is expansion, not of savings, of lifestyle. Um, the immediate, visceral, I finally can response to having more than usual, which is understandable, completely human. After scarcity, real or perceived, abundance feels like permission, like a green light on everything that's been on hold. And some of that expansion is appropriate. Um, some of it is even necessary, um, for the psychological experience of having arrived somewhere different, for the embodied sense of this is real, I can feel it, it changed something. Um, but expansion without a plan. Um, Expansion driven by the relief of finally having, rather than by a clear vision of what you're building toward, is how windfalls become memories. Um, how people look back 6 months later and think, where did it go? And cannot fully account for it. Um, because it was absorbed by the expansion rather than directed by intention. Um, Intention decided in advance of the arrival is what keeps a windfall from being a season and makes it a foundation instead. Um, this reflection invites you to consider, if this money arrived today, what would be the first three things you'd do with it? Not the responsible answer, um, the honest one, um, the one that exists before you've had time to apply any framework or wisdom or financial advice to it. Because that honest answer, the unfiltered first instinct answer, uh, tells you everything about your current relationship with money. And your current relationship with money, not the amount you have, determines what happens to the windfall after it lands, um, more than anything else, um, more than the amount, more than the source, more than the timing, the relationship. Now, the warning in more specific detail. Um, because warnings are only useful when they're concrete. Abstract warnings produce abstract responses, and abstract responses in the context of actual money arriving produce nothing. The first warning, the one most likely to apply, uh, is about the people who are going to appear, because money, even money that nobody technically knows about, uh, has a way of becoming visible um, through changed behavior, um, through a quality of ease that wasn't there before, through the small ways that having more shows up, even when you're trying not to let it show. Uh, and when money becomes visible, people appear, not maliciously always, um, sometimes just opportunistically, with needs that suddenly become louder, with ideas that suddenly require investment, with a quality of closeness that wasn't quite there before. Uh, and that has a specific texture to it. I Slightly warmer than usual, slightly more interested, in a way that, if you're honest, arrived alongside the money rather than existing before it. Notice that texture, not with suspicion toward everyone, mm, with clarity about timing. Who was present before, who arrived after. and what the difference between those two groups uh, in how they've shown up, in what they've asked for, in how they respond when the answer is no, um, actually tells you. Because the windfall reveals your circle as clearly as any difficulty ever has, um, just differently. Um, Difficulty reveals who stays. Abundance reveals who arrives. And knowing the difference clearly without the generosity that money can temporarily produce is one of the most important things this season is asking of you. Um, the second warning, and this one is internal rather than external, is about guilt. Um, Money guilt, the specific, uncomfortable, slightly irrational guilt um, that some people feel when they receive more than they're used to, more than the people around them, more than feels proportional to what they believe they did to deserve it. Um, um, and guilt in the financial context is extraordinarily expensive, um, because it produces giving before the foundation is built, sharing before the container is stable, distributing before the system is set up to replenish what's distributed. And the result, however generous in intention, is the same as the expansion problem. The money moves faster than it should, uh, in more directions than the foundation can sustain. And what could have been a turning point becomes another temporary season. Secure yourself first, um, not forever first. Foundation first. Build the container before you fill other people's containers with what's in yours. Not because generosity is wrong. Uh, Generosity from abundance is one of the most sustainable forms of giving that exists. Um, but generosity from guilt before the foundation is in place is just scarcity with better PR. This reflection invites you to consider what is the foundation you would need to have in place, specifically, concretely, before you'd feel genuinely secure with this money. Not comfortable, secure. What number? What cushion? What stability? What specific structure? Savings, investment, debt cleared, emergency fund established would have to exist for you to feel like the windfall has actually changed your baseline rather than just your temporary circumstances. Name it. Get specific, because specific is protective, vague is permeable, and you need the container to be solid before the water arrives. The third warning, possibly the most subtle and the most dangerous, um, is about identity. Because money, significant unexpected windfall level money uh, does something to identity that most people don't anticipate. It creates a gap between who you were before, the person who operated in the context of having less, and who you're becoming, the person who operates in the context of having more. And that gap, uh, however quietly it exists, um, is disorienting because the previous identity, the one that knew how to navigate scarcity, that had strategies for not enough, um, doesn't automatically know how to navigate abundance, um, doesn't have the same muscle memory, doesn't carry the same instincts about what to do when the problem isn't too little, but how to handle enough. Um, and in that gap between the old identity and the new one, people make the decisions that undo windfalls, um, not from stupidity, um, from the discomfort of the gap, from the specific anxiety of, I don't know who I am in this version of my life. Um, Producing choices that return them to the familiar version, which was the version with less. Uh, the identity work, getting comfortable with the version of you that has this, that operates from this, that makes decisions from this, is as important as anything logistical, maybe more, because logistics can be learned. Identity shifts take longer, um, and require more deliberate attention to actually complete. Start now, um, before the money arrives. Begin inhabiting the version of you, um, in small ways, in daily decisions, in how you think and speak about your financial life that already has this, um, already holds it, already makes decisions from abundance rather than from the scarcity memory. Because that version, built before the money arrives, um, is the version that keeps it. Now, the part that isn't warning, the part that's just good. Um, because this reading started with money coming, um, and the warning exists not to frighten, but to protect. To give you the preparation that converts a windfall from a season into a shift, uh, from a temporary arrival into a permanent change of baseline, from something that happened to you, um, into something you built from. Uh, because money received well, held intentionally, used with the specific combination of enjoyment and strategy, is one of the most practical forms of freedom available. Not because it buys happiness, that's not what it does, um, but because it buys options. And options the ability to choose rather than be chosen for. Change the quality of a life in ways that are difficult to overstate. Um, um, you saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones from a position of having enough rather than from a position of need is a different life. Not a perfect one, a different one with more agency, um, more intention, more of you, the actual you, in the decisions that shape it. Um, um, that's what's possible on the other side of this windfall if you receive it correctly. If the warning lands and produces actual change in how you approach it, um, not anxiety, preparation, not fear of losing it, strategy for keeping it, uh, not guilt about having it, um, gratitude that generates stewardship. This reflection invites you to consider who is the version of you that keeps this money, not who you are now. Who do you need to become uh, in mindset, in behavior, in the specific financial habits that determine whether abundance stays, um, to be the person who turns this windfall into a foundation? Name that person, describe her, um, him, them with specificity. Because the gap between who you are now and who that person um, is closable in the time before this arrives. If you start now, uh, the power is yours. It always has been. The money is coming. Uh, the warning has been delivered. What you do with both the arrival and the warning in the time between now and then um, determines everything. And build the container, update the identity, uh, notice who appears, secure the foundation before the generosity, um, and receive what's coming, not with the hands of someone who's never had this, uh, but with the hands of someone who was ready for it. Those hands hold it differently and differently. Um, in this context, um, means longer, means permanently, means the baseline actually shifts uh, and stays shifted. Um, that's the goal, not the windfall. What the windfall becomes, take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Tell me in the comments, if a windfall arrived tomorrow, what would be the first thing your gut tells you to do with it? No judgment, the real answer, drop it below. And what's the money habit you know you need to change but haven't yet? Say it out loud here first. That's everything today. Go build the container um, before the water arrives. That's the whole assignment. Take care, Virgo.